All right, let's talk about something that affects every single one of us, but often flies under the radar: how the government actually spends our money. We're diving deep into the massive, powerful engine of public procurement. I mean, think about it. How does a brand new road or school or hospital just appear? It all starts with this question. And the answer is a huge, super regulated shopping process called public procurement. Understanding this is really key to understanding how our country gets built. So, why should you care about this? Well, because we're talking about absolutely enormous sums of public money. When the government decides to build something or buy something, you better believe the stakes are incredibly high. And here's the heart of the matter. If the rules are weak or they aren't enforced, that opens the door to all sorts of problems. We're talking inflated costs, shady backroom deals, and sometimes just outright theft of public funds. This is exactly the challenge that procurement laws are designed to stop. So, how do you fight back against that risk? Well, in Nigeria, the answer is built around a really powerful concept called due process. You can almost think of it as the hero of our story today. It's a framework designed to make sure every single contract is awarded fairly and out in the open. Now, due process isn't just a suggestion, it's really a whole philosophy. It means you have to strictly follow the rules of openness and competition. You have to make sure every naira is accounted for. At the end of the day, it's about making sure that contracts go to the best company for the job, not the most connected one. And when you really stick to this principle, the results are huge. It protects public money, obviously. That boosts transparency and helps rebuild people's trust in government. And this focus on getting value for money for every naira spent, it doesn't just help citizens. It actually makes investors more confident in the entire economy. Okay, so this whole idea of due process isn't just a nice thought. It's actually the law. The official rulebook is the Public Procurement Act of 2007, and the main referee, the agency in charge of enforcing it, is the Bureau of Public Procurement, or BPP. They act as the central authority and the watchdog for the whole system. All right, so we've got the principle and we've got the law. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's break down how a government contract gets awarded, from the initial idea all the way to the finished project. So, the standard process, competitive bidding, starts when a government agency publicly advertises what it needs. Companies then put together their proposals and submit them in sealed envelopes. Then, and this is a really crucial step for transparency, those bids are opened in public for everyone to see. After that, a committee evaluates everything to find the best offer. And notice, it's not just about the lowest price, it's about finding the qualified bidder who meets all the requirements. Then, finally, the contract is awarded. But not all contracts are approved by the same people. It makes sense, right? There's a tiered system. For small stuff, like office supplies, the head of an agency can probably approve it. But for something bigger, like fixing a local road, it goes to a ministerial tenders board. And for a massive infrastructure project, that has to go all the way up to the Federal Executive Council, and only after the BPP has done a serious review. Basically, the bigger the project, the more eyes are on it. So how do you make sure only serious companies even bother to apply? Well, the law has something called a bid security. Think of it like a deposit, and it's capped at 2% of the bid price. It's a way for a company to show they have some skin in the game, and it helps weed out bidders who aren't really serious. Now, once a contractor actually wins the bid, they often need some cash to get the work started. This is called a mobilization fee. But to protect public money, it's capped at just 15% of the total contract value. And here's the really important part. The contractor can't just take the money and run. They have to provide an unconditional bank guarantee for the very same amount. It's a safety net that ensures the government's investment is always secure. And there's one more layer of protection, the performance bond. This is basically a guarantee from the contractor, usually at least 10% of the contract's value, that they will finish the job correctly and on time. You can think of it as an insurance policy for the public. If the contractor messes up or disappears, this bond makes sure there's money available to finish the project. So with all these steps and percentages and bonds, it might be easy to look at this and just see a whole lot of bureaucratic red tape. But these rules matter so much, and it goes way beyond just paperwork. In fact, this quote from the Public Procurement Act itself just says it all perfectly. The ultimate goal, the whole point of every single rule we've talked about, is to achieve two simple things: value for money and fitness for purpose. In other words, getting the best possible quality for the best price and making sure the final project actually does what it's supposed to do for the public.
At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. These procedures are the absolute bedrock of accountability. They are the framework that connects our public money to the actual public good. Following them is how you build trust, how you fight corruption, and how we make sure our tax money is really being used to build a better future.
And that kind of leaves us with one final, really important question. The country has a strong set of procurement laws on the books. The rules are there. But what does it really take to go from well-written rules on paper to consistent everyday practice? What does real enforcement look like on the ground? That's the challenge. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.